Chapter 10. Sam ran to the kitchen and grabbed her cell phone off the charging station. Natalie smiled up at her from her favorites list. She hit the picture and prayed for a sleepy voice to angrily pick up at any second. The phone rang and rang and rang and went to voicemail. The silly one Natalie and Sam had recorded just 3 weeks earlier at the discipleship weekend. Sam hit the redial on the screen, and it rang again. She stopped it and scrolled down the list until she found the Ramsaroop home number. She didn't hesitate to look at the time. She hit dial and could always claim sleepwalking if Mr. or Mrs. Ramsaroop picked up. The phone rang once, then a mechanical click shut off the ringtone, and the phone went dead. Sam almost broke her phone as she gave it a fierce shake and a good curse word and dialed again. She got the same result. A mechanical click and silence. Nothing. What was going on? Sam waited a moment, then tried Natalie's cell again with the same result. The voicemail. She knew texting would be futile. Flooded with adrenaline and totally frustrated, Sam paced in the kitchen. Her eyes adjusted to the darkness so she didn't bang a hip on the kitchen island or stub a toe on the table. Why wasn't anyone answering at the Ramsaroops? The image of Natalie surrounded by flames stopped Sam in her tracks. The green neon glow from the microwave above the stove. 3:33 a.m. Her house was dark, quiet, sleepy, peaceful. Sweet dreams hung from the ceiling and snores floated down the hall. And Natalie's face melted away in the neon glow of the microwave clock. Tears began to stream down Sam's face as she started the dialing process from scratch. The same result. Dial, ring, voicemail. Dial, ring, click. The charging station glowed against the countertop. 3 cell phones. The night duty sentinel standing guard over the kitchen. Family policy. No cell phones in the bedrooms. Just like no TVs, DVDs, computers. Bedrooms at the Flynn home were for rest and renewal, and no unsupervised electronic activity. Sam stared at the phone in her hand as she and Natalie's voices laughed into the dark night. Sam thought about when she finally got her own cell phone when she was in junior high. She had been left alone at a high school gym for over an hour when her volleyball game ended unexpectedly because the other team failed to show up. Her coach thought Sam's dad was still at the high school in his office when he was actually away at a principal's conference. Overlapping younger sibling activities caused her mother to be late, as usual. Sam had walked outside as everyone else left and was locked out of the building. So she just sat outside in the dark until her mom showed up. She hadn't been worried or freaked out. She knew her mom would show up eventually. But her mom had had a crying, wringing of the hands, "Someone could have taken my baby" meltdown. Sam didn't complain. She finally got her cell phone. It had taken another 2 years for her parents to allow any social media, but her mother watched over her activity like a hungry hawk circling a bunny. Sam was the only person she knew who did not have a Snapchat, but her mother insisted it was too dangerous, which meant she did not know how to supervise it. Data was always an issue, so Sam tried to stay on Wi-Fi. None of her friends ever even seemed to notice with their unlimited scrolling, texting, and snapping. None of her friends had that problem. But Sam's maturity helped her realize that money was an issue for her parents. Phone plans were expensive, and had to fit into their tightly managed budgets, being teachers like they were. But now she didn't have a choice, and she didn't care. She downloaded the familiar Ghost on a bright yellow screen and snapped. Aubrey was easy to find, and she responded instantly. Congratulations appeared over a goofy picture of Aubrey with a crown on her head. Sam didn't even have time to wonder why Aubrey was awake at 3:33 a.m. because another set of sirens screamed through the night, and the sharp blast of a ringing phone violated the dark, quiet peace of the Flynn house. Sam and her mother said hello at the same time as Sam almost yanked the phone out of the wall, trying to get the cordless off its cradle. Mrs. Tennis's normally calm, warm voice pitched too high and strained. "It's awful, Lisa. I think the entire neighborhood is on fire." Sam's numb shock was broken by her mother. "What's on fire, Faith?" "The Ramsaroop house, Lisa." Mrs. Tennis choked. "It's gone. The whole thing. It's gone." Sam felt the vomit burn her throat as she rushed to the kitchen sink. "Where's Natalie?" "I don't know." Tears boiled down Sam's face, and she was sick again. Before she understood what was happening, her mother stood beside her, arms wrapped around her shoulders, smoothing her hair away from her ashen face. Miss Flynn helped Sam into a warm-up and sports bra, rain boots, and a coat as Mr. Flynn started the truck. They headed toward Walnut Creek Country Club subdivision. Country Club Way was the address of all the old Mansfield families. Some newer luxury subdivisions dotted the area, but the lots were small, no matter how big the house. Country Club Way, with the Trent Jones golf course steps out any back door, was still the hottest property in the Mansfield area, and what the Tennises and the Ramsaroop families called home. There was a good half a mile of golf course that separated Aubrey and Natalie, which was fine with the two girls. They were neighbors, yes, but far enough apart that just dropping in to say hello took a little effort. The Tennises and the Ramsaroops were acquaintances and Christmas party friends, but Faith Tennis and Lotta Ramsaroop were both too interested in the advancements of both their daughters to ever develop a bosom buddy friendship. If the truth were to be known, Faith Tennis deep down inside probably was a little bit racist, and she could have and would have preferred the Wilshires had stayed put at 2360 Country Club Way and not sold their golf course home to the Ramsaroops. As Mr. Flynn turned right onto the street, flashing lights and billowing smoke became instantly visible. Tears continued to stream down Sam's face, and the needles relentlessly stabbed her eyes. There was nothing left in her stomach for her to lose. Fear squeezed only bile in her belly, and it bubbled up and burned in her chest like she was having a heart attack. Mr. Flynn pulled into the Tennis's driveway, but no one was there. They could see the crowd of neighbors milling down the street. Suddenly, ambulance screamed past, and Sam took off in a dead run, her dad hot on her heels. Sam saw Aubrey's blonde hair gleaming in the light of the street lamp, pushed her way past onlookers to reach her friend. They clung to each other as they watched the Mansfield firemen spraying down the neighboring houses to prevent the flames from leaping from the Ramsaroop's rooftop and taking possession of the neighbors' roofs. From as far away as she was standing, Sam still felt the heat from the flames leaping out of the Ramsaroop home and stretching toward heaven like a strange yogi reaching for serenity. Sam felt the bile boil in her throat and turned to heave into the street. Her dad wrapped around her before she knew it and gently lowered her to the curb. Aubrey sat silently beside her. Natalie's melted face, her mouth a hollow black O, burned into Sam's mind, whether her eyes were open or closed. Mr. Tennis bent before Aubrey, looking his pretty daughter in the face, wiping her tears. John Flynn sat beside Sam and smiled at her and tucked a stray auburn curl behind her ear. At some point, Sam's dad disappeared. When he returned, his voice was gentle, more gentle than Sam had ever heard. Let's go to the hospital, baby. Everyone's going to be okay, but Natalie's hurt. Let's go see what's happening. Somehow, Sam returned to her dad's truck, nestled snugly beside him with Aubrey buckled beside her. Mansfield Methodist was right across the street from the high school, and the ER was brightly lit when they pulled into the parking lot. Mrs. Ramsaroop locked eyes with Sam as soon as she stepped through the sliding doors, and Sam savored the crushing embrace that followed. They won't let us back. They won't let us see her. Miss Ramsaroop babbled, and Mr. Ramsaroop pulled his wife away from Sam and guided her back to the hard plastic waiting room chairs. They'll tell us something in just a minute. She'll be fine. She'll be fine. He gently reminded his wife, but his voice was unusually thick as it cracked. Shortly, a pretty young nurse with bright eyes, despite her dark circles in the early morning hour, came out and retrieved the Ramsaroops from the hard plastic chairs and took them to see Balaji and Snehal. Sam, Aubrey, and John Flynn sat in silence as more neighbors and friends began filtering into the Mansfield Methodist ER waiting room. Sam barely noticed when Mr. Flynn got up to speak to Rock, who looked like his normal self, except his hair was going in multiple different directions. Mr. Ramsaroop came out to report that the boys only had minor smoke inhalation, no burns, and would be admitted for observation. Still, no word on Natalie. If anyone had any doubt about Mansfield was still a smallish town, he only had to look at the number of teenagers accumulated in the Mansfield Methodist ER. News traveled fast, especially bad news. And at some point, Steve's cool hand slipped into Sam's clammy palm. His other one softly stroked Aubrey's blonde head, asleep on his lap. Finally, as the full rays of sun broke the pallor of the ER, Mr. Ramsaroop reappeared. Natalie is on her way to surgery. His thick accent was gone and his perfect English returned. She jumped out her second-story bedroom window, and her leg is badly broken. She has smoke inhalation, but no burns. He shook his head, and tears fell freely down his face. Can you believe we just went over a fire escape plan after church today? All the kids just did just what we practiced. We just didn't have time to get a safety ladder. He wiped the tears from his cheeks as Rock stepped in to offer a supporting arm. Praise God, everyone is safe. Rock's voice fell like soothing water. Praise God, chimed the ER in unison. Sam felt herself being pulled into a huddle of friends, arm in arm, with Rock leading them in prayer. Sam allowed herself to close her eyes and let Rock's words wash away the vision of Natalie's burning face. She didn't notice the woman from Luby's standing next to Rock and Mr. Ramsaroop. The woman smiled at Sam and turned to leave, her white dress blown gently by the unseen